I understand where this is going, and to the community, don't be bamboozled or hoodwinked. And the reason why I'm saying this is because the medical concerns that are out there, they are real and they are live. And obviously they're taking lives daily. I want to get to Commissioner Servio's conversation about masks. I mentioned this maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago when we had the CDC inside our chambers, and I asked them where we at that point. I think in order for us to really go in a direction, we need to consider that as far as masks and make sure we continue to emphasize on social distancing. I understand the whole concern about the curfew, but we can say that crime is down. And although law enforcement has not cited anyone, we can say car accidents are down and the hospital intake's down and EMS calls are down. We do have some positives that we can take away. I think we need to really, really hold that conversation on how we communicate with our constituents and inform them and strongly recommend masks and continue to emphasize on social distancing, because it's quite clear we're about to go, I think we're about to go in a different direction and loosen up the restrictions and take away the curfew. But can we put communications out there about masks and social distancing? I think that's something that we need to discuss. Okay.
And again, the discussion on masks, only because Misty brought it up as a trade-off for a curfew, but that's the only reason why we talk about masks. So, Commissioner Johnson?
Oh, no, I'm fine. I was just going to call the question, but since Vanessa already did that, you can take me off the board.
Thank you. Commissioner Servia, real quick, and then we're going to go to public comment.
I heard Commissioner Baugh say that the sheriff is not enforcing the curfew. That's a little contradictory to what I've heard him say, although I think it's unclear. Sometimes he'll say that he's enforcing the governor's order. But isn't he enforcing both, or do I misunderstand?
Well, I think I'm just going to say, because I have talked to Rick about this, that he, in fact, has said that the governor's order basically is a curfew. You're not supposed to be out unless you're out for an essential business. He is not going to pull somebody over, though, if he sees them out. He said he needed probable cause. So what he said at the last time he spoke, he said the thing that was good about the curfew is that it let people know that didn't know anything about the governor's order. It let them know that, in fact, they're not supposed to be out. That was the good thing. But the reality is you have the governor's order, which is essentially a curfew. Our curfew doesn't go beyond that, right? So he said it was a way to help enforce it, I believe is what he said, and I hope I'm not putting words in his mouth because he's not here, but I think you all remember him saying that, right? If I can get nod ahead. He said that was a way, and that was actually in the minutes, I believe, that you can see that. So I don't believe I'm putting words in his mouth. But yeah, he's gonna enforce the governor's order to the extent that he can by law. So that's his position, I believe.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and go to public comment. Sherry, if you would go ahead and call folks up.
Yes, we have 3 persons signed up for public comment. The Board of County Commissioners welcomes your comments. Your presentation must be limited to 3 minutes, and we'll be timing that. And I'd like to ask Mr. Kevin Wright to step up to the podium, Mr. Bradley Bruner to stand on that next little blue line, and then after that, Dr. Marcialis. Thank you.
I'm delighted there's a motion to end the curfew on the table. I remind you, though, that those who would give up essential liberty to obtain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Even worse, I think Benjamin Franklin would agree, is obtaining the illusion of safety for the genuine forfeiture of liberty. Government officials have a way of marginalizing those who disagree with them. The source of the ill will towards the ruling class rests with the ruling class. When the ruling class enacts a curfew and tells us that they're relying on the opinion of the experts, we need to ask what experts? What peer-reviewed study do they rely on? Why does that study apply to Manatee County? In other words, make full disclosure to the public why you imposed the curfew. You and I both know you can't do this. No such rational decision-making was ever undertaken. And Misty Servia, my commissioner, continues to be confused as to the connection between the data provided on curfew and the actual spread of COVID-19. Last Friday, Sheriff Wells, using the most direct language he's used to date, said that he would uphold the governor's stay-at-home directives. Those were his marching orders, period. The board fell all over themselves, rightfully thanking him for his efforts. If you really stood behind the curfew and private property infringement since rescinded, then you would have said, wait a minute, Sheriff, you enforced the letter of our directives or else. How dare you question our authority? If you don't, it shows you're not serious about the pandemic and the health of our citizens. That's the language you use against citizens like me. Authority without accountability and power without purpose. Crisis brings to light the best and worst of human character. As I've experienced firsthand, average people have little influence on our board, yet we need citizens who challenge the decrees of public servants. My friend, a retired Air Force Chief Master Sergeant, said it best. When leadership issues an ordinance, direction, law, or policy, it must have teeth. It must be enforceable, or said leadership will lose all credibility. Without credibility, you can no longer lead. Time to refresh our leaders. Last Friday, 3 weeks into this body's engagement with the pandemic, the lack of resources and essential data was discussed for the first time. One of you pleaded with the public safety and health advisors to provide them with the ammunition to do their job and champion the county effort to secure these resources. How dysfunctional is it that our county commissioners cannot talk with one another or will not talk with one another under the cloak of sunshine laws? Either one, you have an overexuberance in applying that given the county's past history, or you need to go and campaign like the Dickens with our state legislatures to change the sunshine laws because it's keeping you from doing your jobs. Let's get that fixed. Instead of dealing with a contagion and a focused direction, we accepted random drive-throughs and a curfew as a panacea instead of a plan. The board focus seems to be on telling us what to do instead of doing what you should have been doing and empowered to do 3 weeks ago or a month ago. Commissioners provided no criteria. Our selected leaders need to stop delegating decisions to expert bureaucrats. Do not abdicate responsibility, transfer blame, holding out for re-election due to popularity rather than your abilities. On August 18th, we the people are going to issue pink slips to a couple of you. Commissioner Baugh, maintain your faith in us, and we will offer you a contract of renewal on that same day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, next up
Board.
is Mr. Bradley Bruner.
Thank you. The government should not mandate the risk of the individual. The purpose of government is to secure life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. My rights belong to me, not you, the government. That is why I'm here today, to speak truth to power, to stand up for my constitutional rights, to show the government the people have the power, not you, the elected. I have a young daughter at home who is afraid to play outside or talk to her friends because of your actions. I will not stand to let this be the world that she lives in. Madam Chair, at the start of this whole thing, you were okay with the power to extend an unconstitutional bill without holding a proper vote of your peers. On April 3rd of this year, you said, while laughing with a smile on your face, and the idea that we are trampling on people's rights, you betcha. That we are scaring people, you betcha. We want people to be scared. We want people to stay home. We don't want people going out in the streets in hours that we don't wish them to. Madam Chair, you also thought the first bill gave you the constitutional right to stop people on suspicion of curfew violations, which is a huge overreach of your powers. Mr. Wells corrected you at that time. You were also willing to give law enforcement the right to come onto private property to enforce social distancing, until you later changed your mind. You also said that Donald Trump has asked you to do this. Madam Chair, have you spoken with the president on this or any subject? You should step down immediately as chair and apologize to this community. You're using this pandemic as a campaign opportunity. A leader shows strength in a time of difficulty. You have acted out of fear and self-interest. Now let me address the constitutional scholar, Commissioner Sylvia. On April 17th, you said the following: as we talk about the Constitution, it is also very important for people to remember it was written to protect the white man. Well, excuse me, that is not in the Constitution. The politicians who passed the laws in direct violation of people's rights back then, oddly similar to what you are doing today in the guise of public safety. then it was the people who fought back and died to overturn the right of the will of the government by its oppression. It was the Civil War. So, ma'am, it is not the Constitution that is flawed, but people like you who speak to rule with fear. Sorry, I lost my place. That's pretty much it. People need to just understand that you're basing everything you do on fear, and the people are not going to take it. We will see you in November. Good luck.
Thank you. Are there other people in the chambers?
Yes, Dr. Marcialis, please. Yes, yes, 3 minutes.
Yeah, good morning, County Commissioners. Thank you for having me again. I just wanted to first use this time to help to educate, some of the people. We heard some comments negative towards doctors. I don't think that we need to take this personally. I mean, I think that people are really afraid of this pandemic. Some of these reactions are based on fear. We just want to tell them that as long as we all keep social distancing, washing our hands, and use masks in public, we are going to be probably okay. This has been proven in other societies, like in Czech Republic, in which besides social distancing and washing hands and doing all the things that we have been doing, they also use masks in the general population, and the cases have been very much under control. I agree with Commissioner Bond about testing, but also because of the amount of testing that we have to use this wisely. We have developed some algorithms on who are the people that need to be tested first. Those, of course, are symptomatic patients who cannot isolate because if they have symptoms. They have to be symptomatic right now because it's difficult to test asymptomatic patients when we have limited amount of testings. So we need to test those people who are symptomatic, those people who cannot isolate, people who have comorbid conditions, anybody who have symptoms at the age of 65 or older, or younger people who have comorbid conditions, or they live with people who have comorbid conditions. So we have created an algorithm of testing that will probably help to elucidate who do we need to test at this point. We also have put some 3 clinical trials that we are hopefully having on board in this community, which will help with treatment and prevention. So I'm not going to comment on that as we do not have it yet we are finishing IRB approval. But I just want to say that we are working very hard to try to prevent this pandemic. And if we all be able to keep social distancing, we will not be having the problem or even discussing curfew. I have not been in a supermarket until this weekend, which my wife asked me to buy something. So I went there, and I was so upset when I saw a group of young people coming all together in a van. They were obviously not from the same household, and I asked them, are you guys from the same household? And they lied to me. They say yes. They absolutely, they were not. They were friends. None of them were in masks. They all weren't going to Publix. They didn't keep distance. So they're not taking it seriously. And I said, I hope you are all from the same household because, we are seeing so many ill patients that we're treating. What has changed from last Friday to now is that we had 11 people more died. That's what happened. So it is a true fact. If we are talking to a 2% mortality, now we're talking that we have at least 1 to 2. We're having around 1,500 to 3,000 people in Manatee County with this. So I also, when I was there, I saw a woman living in the public with 7 kids. And this is the problem. Yes, the curfew is actually a day-long curfew. It's not really been even looked or enforced, or I think that we need to do more public teaching. And just lastly, I want to address the question about doctors coming here to the chamber and expose people. Doctors are actually being checked every time they go to the hospital. They have questionnaires, they have temperature check. We always are in contact with patients that have COVID with proper PPE. it is more dangerous for me to speak in this microphone after some of the citizens fellow here were talking without mask, touching the podium without mask, and that is more dangerous, you know, than the curfew. And I appreciate the sentiment about liberty, because I have it too. I would like to go and play tennis again. I would like to have my kids again. I unfortunately cannot do that because of responsibility. So if we all have the personal responsibility that we all should have, curfew will not be an issue. But it's not happening. And not pursuing this, the curfew is sending a message that things are okay. Opening the beaches is the wrong message, I believe. This is my personal opinion.
Thank you. Thank you.
If we could keep social distancing, everything will be fine. But I don't think that that's the truth. So, I mean, that's not a fact that is happening. So I would like, if you can think about that. We have a strategy for testing. We have a strategy for treatment. We would like to comment on the support. And we work together with the nursing home directors, I'm one of them, to help Dr. Benzi to decrease the spread of this disease. So thank you again. I really want you guys to do what is right for everybody. And just, we know that the more restrictive measures that we take, the better it's going to be for all of us, and we will be able to open this country soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak? We have someone stepping forward.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners, Madam Administrator, and Mr. Attorney. I'm Valerie Vale. I represent the physicians in Manatee County. I'm from Manatee County Medical Society, and I am speaking for the Board of Directors of the Medical Society. Many of them are very apologetic that they couldn't attend this morning, but they're busy seeing patients. This is a difficult time for them to attend this meeting. I'm talking to you this morning asking you to continue the curfew. I realize, the board realizes that this is not loved by everyone in the community, and we understand that, but it is another layer of protection to help people understand that they need to stay on their own properties and protect everyone around them. Mr. Sauer's report in the last few meetings was evident that the curfew is working, and it does help to keep accidents down and to minimize crime, and it does help the medical community to allow them to treat COVID patients, and it also saves on PPE. And so we do ask that you continue the curfew. We realize that this is a temporary sacrifice for our citizens, but isn't it better to be safe than sorry? We know that in the beginning, when you considered this curfew, there were many people who were not paying attention to the governor's orders and perhaps weren't even aware of them. And that is one of the many reasons that you enacted the curfew in the first place. We are not at our peak. We understand that we still have some time to go. It's too soon to end the curfew, and we ask that you continue it. On another note, as far as the masks, I know that's not the purpose of your meeting here today, but we do also ask the board to consider encouraging all citizens to wear masks when they're out in public. It's amazing to me to see the people who are not doing that when they're in the grocery store. Just so you know, I have been wearing a mask. I just took it off right now so you could hear me better. But the CDC has recommended that masks be worn in public. Publix has now, as of yesterday, required all of their employees to wear masks. It protects ourselves and others, and it's just the right thing to do. And just on a quick note, as far as PPE is concerned, Yes, the hospitals and EMS have ample PPE for the time being, but I can tell you that I get calls all the time from small medical practices who cannot get PPE. Generally, people who are getting PPE are having large orders. A 1 to 2 physician practice does not have the ability to give large orders, and so PPE is difficult to find. And I do ask that you continue the curfew to save on that and to save lives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak? Madam Chairman, I do not see anyone else stepping forward.
All right, I'm going to close public comment. We have a motion on the floor. Commissioner Whitmore, did you have something you had to say?
Yeah. I would like to make sure that the sheriff make sure when the medical staff, whoever's there, leave, at least go out there and make sure that nobody's verbally abused anymore or accosted. I think, like Dr. Marcial said and others, we need to calm down. We understand everybody feels differently, but everybody needs to be respected. I respect everybody in that chamber, whether you agree with me or not. That's not my style to do that. And in all fairness, that guy that you talked to is on the front line, and he looks entirely different when he's in a room with a patient versus what he's wearing now. Also, about this curfew, has anybody heard what the governor's done during his talk? Has he released the only being out for essential services when he's been talking? Because that would be important. And also, this gentleman mentioned that his daughter can't go out and because of actions we took. The only action we took was you can't be out from 11 to 5 a.m. So that was the governor's direction, and that's what we all should be following. And see, we're getting all this stuff about the curfew, but we're following the governor's direction, and people aren't, and that's why you've seen it. And now you know. I'm glad they explained why they're wearing a mask, because it's to protect everybody. So anyway, the question was to eliminate this. I still am. I'll get all the hate mail. I mean, it's so discouraging to see some of these people. I understand how they feel morally, but I just can't support the motion. I'm looking out for your grandma, your wife, your husband. We haven't reached a plateau yet in Manatee County, and I just can't release the curfew. So I know it looks like it's going to pass, but as a healthcare provider for 40 years, I'm not going to go there.
Thank you. And I'm just going to say a few comments before I vote as well. The language that I said when we initially started talking about this, it was a very blunt, probably incorrect way to state it, but my message was that people were not, at the time, definitely were not, because the governor's order had just gone into effect. I believe it hadn't gone into effect. It was just enacted. And the idea that people could ignore this and just continue on and do what they've always done didn't make any sense to me when we need people to do social distancing. I listen to the experts. Who are the experts I'm listening to? The same ones the president is listening to. I don't have other experts. I listen to the press conferences. Everyone has said the only way to slow this virus moving forward is by staying at home. That is what I said then. That's what I say now. That's what I meant. However, I don't think the curfew is needed because the fact of the matter is the governor's order says to stay home. I hope we don't lift it. I hope he doesn't lift it. It's in effect, as far as I know, at least till April 30th. We have not reached the peak in Manatee County. We are not like everywhere else in Florida. We are unique. My job is to protect the public health, safety, and welfare in Manatee County, nowhere else. So if we release the curfew, to me, at this time, people are taking it seriously. They are not going out so much between, I don't know about the gentleman's daughter who couldn't go out. I don't know why anyone's daughter, I don't know how old she is, needs to be out. But I know that's not the point for a lot of people. They don't want us enacting something more than the governor did. But I'll tell you what, if the governor releases everyone in the entire state. We are not like everyone in the entire state. So we may have to talk about what we have to do to keep the people in Manatee County. That's my concern. And the fact that we're right there behind Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, that's a big concern to me. And I don't think we're on the radar screen yet, but I appreciate Senator Galvano saying that he's going to help us get more testing. We know the numbers are just going to keep going up. We know that. I knew it last Friday. That's why I wanted to vote last Friday. I knew we would not be going down. That's why I said what I did last Friday. So I'm going to go ahead and support this motion. But I hope people still know that they've got to respect the fact that we cannot be together yet. We cannot congregate yet. Even though you can take your boat out, you shouldn't be congregating on the beaches. Everyone knows that. So the FWC just sent something out saying that. So I think the advice is fairly clear. The testing, we need to do more testing, but we just got to get our numbers so they don't just keep climbing. And that's what the president's opened the country up. I read it. I'm not sure I understand it all. I need to know how that testing, that first level, what we have to get to start opening things up. We're not there in Manatee County. So I'm going to go ahead and call for the vote. Commissioner, Serbia, did you have something you want to say before we vote?
Madam Chair, again, can I assist with the crafting of the motion, respectfully?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So it is my understanding that the movant, in this case, Commissioner Trace, is desirous of rescinding the existing curfew. The motion ought to read as follows. I move to rescind the curfew as set forth in Resolution R 20-056. Is
that your motion, Commissioner Trace? You have to speak.
Yes.
Does Commissioner Johnson, the seconder, agree with that? You going to unmute him so he can say it, please? John, go ahead, Commissioner Johnson.
Okay, there we are. I agree with the second for that motion.
All right. Commissioner Serbia, and then we're going to vote.
I just want to say that, I represent a district that has some of the highest numbers of positive cases. I represent those people. I have to help protect them. I have heard that the curfew is helping to slow the spread, and that is why I am not going to be supporting the motion. Look, nobody wants to get back to normal more than I do, but we have got to get through this peak, and it is not a time to send the wrong message to the public that things are getting better. Third highest in the state, right here in Manatee County, and I feel it's my responsibility to help protect people, and so I'm going to be voting against the motion.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and do a roll call vote for the motion as read by Mickey Palmer. So if we could, Commissioner Johnson.
I vote yay.
Commissioner Serbia.
No.
Commissioner Bellamy.
No.
Commissioner Trace.
Yes.
Commissioner Baugh.
Yes.
Commissioner Whitmore.
Nay.
Commissioner Banak. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the motion carries 4-3.